If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another Meet the Bags video. Today I am super happy to introduce you to the Cassia Satchel and a Quaint stitch pattern. Oh my gosh, this bag has so many pockets. Let me show you. Okay, so it is a shoulder bag. On the back, we have a pocket here. And you can see from the side, we have a center pocket here with the zipper closure. And when you open that up, you have two slip pockets on one side and a zipper pocket on the other. And then on top here, you have two more pockets that are quite deep and big. Oh my gosh, pockets galore in this bag. She is a large bag. She is super cute. She has a very unique shape. It is amazing for showcasing a fun fabric or print like I have done with this one. Yeah, I just can't rave enough about this bag. Anyways, if you are one of my clients and you would like to order one of these, you know what to do. All my information is down below in the description. And if you're part of my bag makers community, there is a tutorial on this one. If it's not up yet, it will be up shortly, depending on when you're watching this. This is our Tuesday, August 2023 sew along bag. So the tutorial has been released to the membership side of the channel. And once classes are all over, it will be released to the public side of the channel along with the cutting video for it as well. So stay tuned for this tutorial, and until the next one, I will see you guys again. Bye! You will need some rivets, number 5 zipper tape, 4 rectangular rings, 2 zipper ends, 4 or 5 as number 5 zipper pulls, your nameplate, 4 optional strap ends. I am adding some 6 purse feet into this. I'm also going to be using a base coat dense Giardini paint, color, and a matte top coat, as well as some So Pink foam from Galaxy Customs. Okay, you're going to need your center zipper gusset pieces, your lining and your exterior, as well as your lining zipper facing. Your 2 front and back main panels, your slip pocket piece, your zipper pocket pieces, your 2 main lining pieces, your 2 zipper pocket pieces, your straps, your 4 lining side pocket pieces, your top panels with Decovil Heavy outside of the seam allowances, your side panels, again with Decovil Heavy outside of the seam allowances. Now I did my straps a little different. I have these backed with Decovil Lite. You need 4 cut out and then a rectangular piece that will fit all 4 pieces. Your base pieces with the Decovil Heavy on your exterior outside of the seam allowances. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I am going to do my straps off camera. If you need a class on how to do that, that is down below in the description. Okay, now to do my connector pieces. So you can see I just have my Decovil Lite on there, kind of scrappy. That is okay. I'm putting some tape on the wrong side of one of the connector pieces and putting it wrong sides together with that rectangular piece that we cut out. Right now, so I will be edge painting these. So to allow for the edge paint, which is about 1/8 of an inch once I've done all my base coats, I'm going to top stitch these at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. If you are not edge coating these, then go ahead and do 1/8 of an inch seam allowance around all 4. Okay, so as I am edge painting, I'm going to cut these out at as close to 1/8 of an inch from that stitching that we just did as possible. If you are not edge painting, just cut around the original piece using it as your guide to cut around. Again, that is to make room to fit on our hardware. If you have edge painting, usually my 3 base coats is about 1/8 of an inch. So that's just to kind of take that into account. So go ahead and cut those all out. I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to do my edge painting on all my raw edges. I do have a class for that down below in the description. Okay, so now we are going to work on our back zipper pocket panels. So our lining zipper pocket pieces for the exterior, we want to find our top and bottom centers, as well as on our main piece as well, our top and bottom centers. Okay, now we are going to put these right sides together. First, I'm going to take my lining piece. So this is on the wrong side, and I'm going to follow the measurements as per the pattern to draw out my rectangle here for my zipper placement. So all these measurements are in the pattern. And draw those out. And then you're going to take these right sides together and match up those top centers and clip them in place. And then next we're going to take this to the machine and we are going to stitch around that rectangle that we just drew. That is done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to measure in about 3/8 of an inch or so away from the short side of those stitch lines, like so, just a little mark on top. And then we're going to draw a diagonal line from that mark to the corner of our stitching. Next, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut into that diagonal line without cutting your stitching. So as close as you can possibly get without cutting that stitching. And then we're going to flip this wrong sides together. So finger press this really good. If you're using cotton pieces, you can definitely take this to the iron and give it a good press. I'm going to press this from the wrong side here. Give that a good press, like so. Okay, now that is all pressed down where I want it to go. Now I'm going to take some double-sided tape and I'm going to put it right along this edge here on the wrong side. And I have my zipper with zipper pull here. I'm going to make sure my zipper pull is closing to the left, and I'm going to center it in that square and stick the tape down on the zipper tape where I want it to go so it's nice and straight. So you will find that the exterior panel there will line up on the top with our zipper tape. If you want to clip those in place like I'm doing here first, nice and centered, and then go ahead and manipulate the exterior piece onto the tape so it's nice and straight. Once you have it where you want it, you're going to go ahead and you're going to top stitch those 3 finished edges. So that's what that looks like all done. And next what we want to do is take our other zipper pocket lining piece and we are going to find our top and bottom centers again. I really need to learn to do this when I cut it, but I always forget. We're going to put this right sides together with the other zipper pocket lining piece, line up the bottom center there, and then line it up with the unsewn top of the zipper tape, like so. Now what we want to do is then go through with some clips and clip all of our sides or all of our raw edges together of just that zipper pocket lining piece. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew just that zipper pocket lining piece here, and then go ahead and baste just where the zipper tape is along the right side there. So make sure you have your exterior piece up and out of the way like I'm doing right here. And I like to try to catch those little triangles that we cut out. And in my head, it just makes it so that zipper is going to be a little bit more sturdy. So that's why that seam allowance looks so big, is because I am going right almost next to the stitching of that exterior panel and the zipper panel where they meet. Across the bottom, up the other side. Again, trying to catch that little triangle there. Back stitch. And then go in and just kind of baste just where the zipper tape is to baste the lining to the zipper tape. Don't go along the sides, just where the zipper tape is, and that'll just keep the top of our lining zipper pocket in place. This is what that looks like. Go ahead and trim up that seam allowance and any excess zipper tape you have there. Do not cut your exterior piece. This is just the pocket lining and the excess zipper you are trimming up. That is the back panel. Our pocket works. You can go ahead and set that aside for now. Okay, so I have decided to put some purse feet in here. I found 2 inches in from the short sides, and 1.5 inches up works well for me. You can do what works well for you, as well as 1.5 inches down from the long sides in the center. Go ahead and install those. I have a class for how to install purse feet down below. I've also put some duct tape over the prongs. Okay, so now we need to work on our stabilizer for that gusset piece. We need to cut out where the zipper is going to be, so on our foam, so it doesn't get in the way of the foam. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking my exterior piece and I am marking where that gusset is, and then as per the pattern measurements, it gives you how much of that rectangle you need to cut out. So I'm going to make sure it's nice and centered first off, and then I'm going to draw the rectangle in between those marks. It's slightly bigger. I'm just using my marks kind of as a guide where it's going to be placed, and measure out where you are going to be cutting out this rectangle as per the pattern pieces. Now I did use foam in the tutorial. When using vinyl, next time I think I will, as I mentioned in the intro, I would definitely use fusible fleece instead of this when using vinyl, just because this ended up being a little bit cumbersome in the final construction, but foam definitely did give it a nice and sturdy feel. So I'm going to try it with fleece next time and see how that works. Okay, so I'm drawing out the rectangle as per the measurements in the pattern. And this is just going to keep this foam away from that zipper when we go to put it on. Go ahead and cut out that rectangle. Okay, so you can go ahead, that's the rectangle. Take your zipper gusset piece and baste it on just the outer perimeter, as well as your 2 main panels and your bottom panel with your sew-in foam. Okay, so you can kind of see how this is all kind of floppy here. I went ahead and just put some double-sided tape underneath the foam where the zipper is, just to hold it in place, as we did not base sew that. Okay, so I also went ahead and I cut away the foam where the back zipper pocket is, just to give it a little more cushioning, because when you have something inside the bag, then you have the foam protecting the insides. And then I just used a little bit of double-sided tape to hold that down on the foam for that back pocket. Okay, so now if you weren't doing the raw edge, this is how you would do that zipper gusset. I'm not doing the raw edge for my lining, so it was perfect to show you how to do this. So I've got my zipper facing here, and I've kind of cut with my scissors just the line from there. Flip this over to the other side, and then I'm going to draw out that rectangle. It'll be about 1/2 inch in height, so draw that out. And again, if you were doing this for a non-raw edge, this is how you would do the facing. Okay, I'm going to extend my lines out like so, and this is just going to help us center this on that lining piece. So now I'm going to take my lining piece, and on my right side I'm using an air erasing pen so I can mark where this is going to line up, like so. And then I'm going to extend those lines out to the ends. There's a method to my madness here. Just bear with me and you'll understand what I'm doing. Again, make sure you're using an air erasing pen here because we are on the right side of this zipper panel. We have our centers marked. And what you're going to do is you're going to match up where the centers are of our gusset piece as well as this lining piece. Line up that center, and then where we drew those little lines extended, make sure that they match up. And then I'm going to take some pins and I'm going to pin this in place down the center of that rectangle. This just helps get this facing nice and centered so the zipper will match up on our exterior piece as well. Once we have that done, so these are right sides together. Once we have that done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch around that rectangle. Okay, so now that that's done, what we're going to do on the facing side now is measure in about 3/8 of an inch from our stitch line, make a line, and then we want to draw a center line in that rectangle. That's approximately 1/4 of an inch from the stitching to those little short lines. And then at those little short lines from the centers, draw out your V's. And then I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm just going to start cutting down the center, but I'm not going to go right up to where those short marks that we just made are. Just go close to them, and then we can go in with our scissors and cut out to the V's like so. Get as close to the stitching as you can without cutting the stitching. And then we get the fun part of turning these wrong sides together. So you're going to stuff the facing inside and bring it wrong sides together with that gusset piece. This was a little bit hard to do with the waterproof canvas. It definitely would be a lot easier with cotton. Cotton tends to move a little bit, you can manipulate it a little bit more. So go ahead and roll that seam there. Take it to the iron if you want to give it a really good press. Bringing that nice and crisp seam to having them wrong sides together. Okay, so I got that all pressed out like so, and here's my exterior piece. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some double-sided tape and along the exterior piece here, I'm going to put it all along here. Again, I have this nicely edge coated in this rectangle as well. And then I'm going to take double-sided tape down the bottom part. If your machine does not like double-sided tape, make sure you're keeping this outside of the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance where we will be top stitching the zipper in place. You'll do the same on the lining side on the facing. Again, keeping it about 1/8 of an inch away from that folded edge if your machine is a little bit
finicky when it comes to double-sided tape, or use some Dritz Wash Away Wonder tape here. That would work good too. Okay, and I have my zipper here, so I have my pull closing to the left. It doesn't really matter which way it goes right now. I'm going to center it underneath my opening here and stick it down nice and straight on my zipper tape so I have a nice and straight zipper. Next time I make this, I'm actually going to do a double pull on it because it'll just make it easier when you go to put the bag on or together, that you're not having to worry about which way your zipper pull is facing. And it's a long zipper. Double pull would be super nice. Once you have the top in place, go ahead and do the same thing along the bottom. This is great for making sure your zipper looks nice and straight. This just gives you so much more control to be able to do this. This is very similar to how we do our zipper pocket overlays on the lining side when we do them. Okay, now this next part is a little bit tricky, so you're going to do similar with the lining, and we are going to put, first I'll find my centers of my exterior piece here so I can line them up. Okay, and we are going to put these wrong sides together, so I'm going to match up that center. Use lots of clips here. So this part is a little bit tricky, I'm not going to lie. You definitely don't want that lining slipping, because what we're going to end up doing is sandwiching that zipper in between these two. So what we want to do is stick it down to that top part, and you want to kind of use your sense of feel here to feel the seam, or feel where we have the zipper and the exterior lining up together, and try to match up the seam of the lining as well, because we're going to top stitch this in place and we want to try to catch the lining as well. So what this is doing is sandwiching that zipper in between the two layers. So once you have the top part done, go ahead and take the tape off of the bottom part of the lining piece and do the same thing. Take your time here to try to get it nice and perfect. Again, using your sense of feel to kind of feel where the exterior is stuck down on the zipper on the opposite side. Make sure your zipper will open and close freely, which mine does. Make any adjustments that you may need. Then we're going to take this to the machine, and we are going to go ahead and go around that rectangle with an 1/8 of an inch top stitch. Now, I'm not going to lie, I did not catch both layers when I did that, so I did 2 lines of top stitching to make sure I caught that lining. So I did an 1/8 of an inch top stitch around here, and then I went in and did another 1/4 of an inch top stitch, just so I know that that lining was caught. So yes, I discovered that later after I did the 1/8 of an inch, and that was my way of rectifying that. This is a good time to make sure you have a full bobbin, because you definitely don't want to have to go back in and do this twice if you don't have to. So work your way around with this. I'm going to pull my threads long and tie them off in the back as well. So this is what you can see. You can see I didn't catch it all the way on that lining side. I have very contrasting threads, so you definitely can see that. So yeah, so I went back in and did a second row to make sure that lining was caught. And it actually looks pretty nice on top. That bottom part here, you're not going to see my messy stitching there so much. Now what you want to make sure is that that lining was free and clear of everything. Okay, so now that we are done with that, we're going to set it aside and take a breath, and we are going to work on our connector placement. So what I'm doing is taking my connector pattern piece. I punched out the holes for the rivets markings, and I'm just going to take my leather pen, Tandy leather pen, and mark out those rivet punches. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to punch out those holes with my rivet punch. And I will do the same thing for the other 3 connectors. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to slide one of my rectangular rings on, take some double-sided tape on the wrong side of the connector, and fold it in half, matching up our curvy sides like so, to hold it in place. Then I'm going to take my pattern piece, and I've just kind of cut out the top of the connector placement, and I'm going to use my Tandy leather pen and mark that. And I know that's the top of my connector where my rectangular ring mates. I'm going to find my top and bottom center. Again, I always forget to do this in the beginning. And I'm going to put some more double-sided tape on the wrong side of this connector, just a little itty-bitty piece along the bottom. And then I'm going to place this at that fold, at that mark, and then go ahead and punch those rivet holes through that top panel piece as well. And then I'm going to also use some Decovil Heavy scraps that I'm going to put behind the posts of my rivets, because I'm not sewing these on, I am riveting them on. So go ahead, use your rivets, put them on. You could sew these on if you want as well, but this is really thick. So riveting, if I think, works best here. So put them on like this. I'm going to put my Decovil scraps along the back just for extra security. And then I'm going to go ahead and set this, and I will do the same for the other 3 connectors. And that is done just like so. Okay, now I've already gone ahead and I did my zipper pockets for my main lining panels, leaving the bottom open for closing up later. If you need a class on how I do those, it's down below in the description. Okay, so now we're going to work on our pouches. So I have my zipper tape here, and on the wrong side of both of them, on the right hand side, I'm going to draw a 1-inch line. That's going to enable me to put my pull on later on. Now I'm going to, on the opposite side, on the right side, I'm going to fold one side down at a 90-degree angle like so, and hold it with a pin. Fold the other side down, pinch it upon itself, making it as even as we can, and we're going to go ahead and baste those in place for both of the zippers. Okay, you can go ahead and work with one panel at a time so you don't mix up your zipper tape. I've cut off my wings. I kind of just burned the edges to melt it, and now I can pull that tape apart. So now on my side pocket panel, we want the narrower side to be towards the top. Find your top and bottom centers. Okay, and then you're going to measure in as per the pattern. The measurements are slightly different on the left side and the right side, so make sure you check your pattern for what that measurement is. Now on the left hand side here, you can use pins here as well. I'm going to use double-sided tape. So the shorter of the markings, so the smaller marking, I believe it was 3/4 of an inch, and the opposite side is 1 inch, but double check your pattern. That is where we want the curvy end of our zipper to be. And we have our lining piece right side up, as well as our zipper is right side up. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that curvy part right up against that line, and then stick this down to the tape all the way to that other mark on the opposite side. And we want to mark that 1 inch mark on our zipper tape as well, because we are going to stop sewing there. Now we're going to take the opposite our zipper pocket or lining panel. And our markings are going to be opposite than that first one. So this right hand side is going to be at that shorter measurement, and the left hand side is going to be at the larger measurement. Again, use some double-sided tape or clips or pins, whatever your preference is. Again, these are right side up, and you're going to see our zipper is curvy to the right. Stick that down at that mark all the way across, and then transfer that marking once again onto the zipper tape. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and baste these, but we're going to stop and start at that last line that we marked on our zipper tape. All right, so now that that's done, we're going to put these right sides together, make sure our tape matches up at that curvy side, and we are going to clip down the sides. On both sides, stuff that tail inside. You do not want to get it caught in the stitching. These are where we will have our zipper ends on later on. Clip down that side as well as the bottom side. Now we're going to go ahead and sew all the way around those three corners, or those three sides. Okay, so now this is where we want to make sure that our we did it nice and straight. So I have my handy dandy fork here. This is where I'm going to match up those 1-inch lines we drew on the back side of the zippers. This will help get our pull on nice and straight. So you know that you're going to be straight as soon as that 1-inch line matches up on the back of the zipper. I'm just going to keep doing this until I get it to match up. It sometimes takes me 5 or 6 times. Maybe a little more. Once I have that lined up, I should zip this up and it should be nice and straight, which it is. And same with the other zipper pouch. We did it exactly the same way. You can pull the pulls off now. Okay, turn these right side out. Now this doesn't have to be turned right side out perfectly. Don't worry about poking out the bottom corners. We just need the top part where the zipper is to be nice and straight, because we are going to be pulling this the other way here momentarily. So as you can see, I don't have them pushed out all the way. We don't have to, because this is not the way these are going to be in the end. We just need where the zipper is to be nice and flat and straight. Okay, so now we're going to take our top panels and our side panels, and I'm going to find the top and bottom centers of my side panels as well. Okay, now we're going to, I got my nameplate on my front panel. I'm going to match up the side like this. So the curvy part of our side panel will be facing down. We're going to go ahead and we are going to sew across where we just clipped together. Okay, so I am going to just switch out of my zipper foot and into my standard foot here. You will see me switch between my feet often. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and sew across here as per the seam allowance in the pattern. And then what we want to do is we want to open these seams up. So I'm going to finger press these seams open, and then I'm going to top stitch down either side of the seam to hold them in place. Okay, once that's done, we're going to bring the other ends together so we have formed a big loop, and we're going to do the exact same thing, sewing down that seam, pressing that seam open, and then sewing down either, or top stitching down either side of the seam. We will be sewing in a loop, but it's a big loop, so it is not hard to do at all. Okay, so I'm not going to lie, this part is super confusing. So make sure you follow the diagrams in the pictures. Trust me, they will work. It ended up being the opposite of what I thought it should be, but it was. So make sure in this one, we have our tails going to the left, and we have the bottom of our front panel matching up the center of our zipper pocket. I know it's confusing. Follow the pattern pictures. Trust me. I was doing this I was following the pattern pictures. I'm like, I don't know, but it's going to work. So this is attaching the bottom of the top panels to the zipper or to the pouches. So they are right sides together right now. Again, our tails with our front panel facing us, so where our nameplate is, the tails should be going to the left here. So I'm going to just mark as per the pattern pieces, transferring those marks that we had marked on the zipper tape is what I'm doing, because we do not want to sew past those marks. It will leave gaps in these zippers sides, but that is what we want for now. So go ahead and pin this in place, or clip it in place. And you need to follow the pictures in the pattern to make sure our zippers are going to close in the same direction. Okay, double check everything's in place. Then we're going to start at that marking we just did and go all the way around to that opposite marking. I'm going to sew it from the inside of this bag here, so I had to switch them around, my markings to the inside so I know where to start and stop, or just follow your stitch line, changing back into my zipper foot here so I can get nice and close to my zipper. And we're going to sew from the mark all the way around to the opposite mark, making sure you do not catch those tails. Okay, so that is done. You can see my zipper tails are free and clear. Now go ahead and push the lining back out like this. So this is why we didn't punch out those corners, because we're just going to put it right back in the same place. Okay, like so. And then what we want to do is we want to flip this panel up like so. You're going to pull the zipper tails out through that opening in the side. I know it looks funky. This is a really cool construction, you guys. Just bear with me. Pull those tails out through that opening that we left in the side, because we want them free and clear. And it's almost like we've made a collar on here. So the zipper pocket lining is wrong side out, and now our top bands are right side out. Yeah, so now what we want to do is we want to press this opening so the finger press the opening in the side so the raw edges are in by that seam allowance, and put a clip, because we are going to top stitch this all in place, which is also going to close up that hole. And then we're going to go around, we're going to make sure it's all nicely finger pressed, so our lining is nice and taut below our zipper, and our top panel is nice and taut along that zipper to prepare it for top stitching. So press it really good like so, and then we're going to go along that zipper and we are going to top stitch and close up that hole as well while we do that. Now, you can definitely do this on a flatbed, but I have a cylinder arm, which makes things so much easier, so I'm definitely going to use my cylinder arm at this point. You're going to see me hop back and forth between my machines, but everything is doable on a flatbed or a cylinder arm. So go ahead and top stitch all the way around, being very careful to not catch those zipper tails. Okay, so that is done and our zipper closes the right way. Repeat with the other pouch, following the pictures in the pattern, making sure your tails are going the right way. It's going to be opposite, but definitely follow the pattern. So if you've done it right, when you put these back to back, the zipper pulls are going to go the right way. I've gone ahead and I've put on my zipper ends already and my zipper pulls. Put the zipper pulls on before the ends, and those are the two side pouches done. Okay, so now that we have that done, you want to pull the lining of your main front pouch out again. Again, you don't have to push it out nice and neat because it's going to get stuffed right back in. You're going to take your exterior front panel, find your top and bottom center. Okay, and then what we're going to do is put these right sides together so it's the bottom of that top band along the top of the main panel. Again, keeping in mind our hardware should be pointing down because when we flip it, it's going to be pointing up. So match up along that edge. Same across the other way. And you will see how the top bands are kind of shaped to match this, so it works out perfectly. The pattern pieces are cut to perfection. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and sew the seam allowance right along here. Okay, so it's a good idea to have your right zipper foot on still for this part because our connectors are so close to where we are stitching this, and this will help get nice and close to those connectors, and you won't need a hump jumper to go over them. So I definitely recommend putting on that right zipper foot. Okay, so that is done. I've kind of pushed it up like so because I want my seam to go up towards that top band. And this does feel a little awkward, but trust me, it works. So make sure your seam that we just sewn on that one side is pointing up. And then we are going to go ahead and top stitch it through the top band just from that edge, making sure you're not catching the other side of the loop or the zipper pocket lining here, and we're going to top stitch just through that top panel. Okay, so that's all done. You can go ahead and stuff that lining pocket back down where it's going to live, like so. And that is the front panel done. The zipper works. We have our pouch on there. You're going to do the exact same thing with the back panel and the other side. So that is both the panels done. And when you put them together like so, you're going to see they match up perfectly. And now we get to the fun part. Well, not quite the fun part. The gusset is the fun part. Now we're going to attach the bottom. So flip your zipper pocket out of the way. Find your top and bottom centers as well as your side centers on your bottom panel. You're going to put this right sides together, matching up that center mark. Clip it all the way across. And then we're going to sew this, and then we're going to press, once we finish sewing it, we're going to press the seam allowance towards the base and then top stitch that seam in place through the base. So across here, and then we will push the seam allowance towards the base and top stitch through the base. Standard foot will help you have a little bit more control here, so switch back into your standard foot here to get a nice and easily sewn seam. So that is all done. See, our seam's going the correct way. Do the exact same thing with the opposite side of the opposite panel. So this is what that looks like. Now what we want to do is take this top panel once again and kind of flip it up so it's exterior side out. Now this is really interesting how this goes together. And I wouldn't have used waterproof canvas. Cotton would definitely make it a little bit easier to manipulate this. It worked with the waterproof canvas, but I would suggest using a softer, more malleable type for your lining. It will make this step a lot easier. So just on our exterior parts of gusset, we have our side centers marked. Make sure your zipper is going the right way. This is why next time I will do a double zipper so I don't have to think about it so much. Clip that lining of the gusset out of the way because we only want to be working with the exterior pieces. We do not want to get any of our lining pieces caught in here. So match up the bottom of the gusset center with the bottom panel center, like so. And then with the unsewn side of the top panel, right here, we're going to match it up with the center of the gusset exterior piece. Again, keeping the lining piece out of the way. Use a ton of clips here, trust me. Do the same with the opposite side as well. Be uber aware of where your lining panels are. Bring up the other center to the other side of the gusset like so. And then you're going to continue clipping all the way around, only clipping the exterior fabrics. and pulling the lining fabrics out of the way. So again, use lots of clips, take your time, and evenly distribute that fabric all the way around. Okay, these are my million clips. I'm going to start at the bottom of the gusset, and you are going to go and sew with the seam allowance all the way around just that exterior piece. You are going to need to adjust your fabric under your foot a lot. Make sure you have a full bobbin here, because trust me, you do not want to do this again. If you go around and you sew all this and you end up not having any bobbin, you will cry. So I'm going to start at the bottom one gusset, and I'm going to go around from clip to clip, making sure everything kind of stays in place. Take it nice and slow, and when you adjust, make sure you put your seam or your needle down before you adjust. It seems like a lot, but trust me, it is so worth it. Just take your time, go nice and slow. You've totally got this. Phew, take a deep breath. That part is done. Kind of stick your hand in, make sure all of the corners are done. I'm actually just going to pull it out a little bit just to double check that everything was caught. Because I definitely would hate to sew this all together and find that there was some things that weren't caught. So it's pretty easy to just flip out to double check that seam. I strongly recommend you do so. Mine looks okay. Once it looks okay, go ahead and push it all wrong side out again. I'm obviously double and triple checking. Okay, turn it back wrong side out. And guess what? We are going to do the exact same thing with the lining panels. And this is where I found and wished that I had used a cotton lining, because this waterproof canvas was a little stiff for getting around all of that sewing. But I still managed it. It still turned out great. I just highly recommend using a cotton. Okay, now we're going to prepare our lining panels in the exact same way we did with our exterior. But we are going to leave one side of our bottom open, and that is the side that has our slip pocket on it. So this is going together pretty much exactly how we put together the exterior panels. Match up your bottom centers, put these right sides together. I'm not going to worry about sewing my seam in place afterwards. I'm just going to leave it as is. So again, make sure the open side is going to be on the slip pocket side. And what we're going to do is we are just going to sew where we drew our lines before the opening, here to here and here to here, and then take the opposite side and sew all the way across. So that's what that looks like. We have our opening in the bottom. It's good to go. So now back to the fun part. Put the lining on exactly like we did with the exterior, matching up the bottom centers of the lining gusset pieces. You're going to have to squish your exterior a lot. That's why we didn't use a fusible interfacing. I have mine clipped all the way around. As you can see, it looks like a hot mess, but trust me, it's worth it. I've gone ahead and I've sewn it all around, making sure all my seams were caught. We still have the opening in the bottom. Now we have one more trick we need to do. So along the tops where our top panel meets here, what we want to do is take the lining and the exterior at that point in between, kind of where those that panel, you can kind of see the marks of where our side panel sewn on right there of our gusset. Okay, and what we're going to do is we are just going to sew right along that top. We're not going all the way around the sides. We're just connecting the lining seams and the exterior seams within the seam allowances there. And what that is going to do is it's going to make it so our lining does not sag inside the bag. So this is quite important to do. It looks a lot more complicated than it is, but you're just clipping along those tops and just sewing within the seam allowances with about a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance or so, just to hold those seams together so that lining does not sag. Okay, so that is all done. You can see. Now what we're going to do is through that opening, we're going to go ahead and turn this bag out. Again, really wishing I didn't use a waterproof canvas for my lining at this point. This was a very stiff waterproof canvas. It's a pretty waterproof canvas, but it was very stiff. Again, next time I will be using a cotton lining. So take your time, pull this out nice and slow. Massage and squish and pull and massage and squish and pull. push out all your seams, push your lining in. Make sure all of your corners, before we seal things up, are out nicely. And now we're going to want to close up that lining. So close up these pockets here. We don't need them anymore. Make sure everything zips up nicely. Okay, now we're going to close it up. So you're going to take your zipper pocket, pull out that opening, or the zipper pocket lining, reach in through the opening, and grab that open bottom of the bag. Again, I really wish I'd used cotton at this point because this was really stiff to pull through here. So again, I'm making it look harder than it is because of the material choices I made. Match up the center of the bottom pieces and clip them in place. This is how we close up all of our bags. Gives us a nice seamless bottom where we don't have that ridge along the bottom, which is super nice. Okay, once we have it all clipped in place, we're going to go ahead and sew from where our stitch line started and end where our stitch line ended. That has been done. Stuff it all back in through that zipper pocket, and then you can go ahead, roll in the raw edges of your zipper pocket, and then top stitch the zipper pocket shut. That's all done. Stuff that one in. Take a deep breath. I'm so proud of us. We finally made it through. I went ahead and riveted on my handles. And guys, that's it. We're done. All of our zippers work. Our insides look amazing. This bag is amazing. I will make many more, believe it or not, but look how great this is. Admire your work, pat yourself on the back, and we're done.
All right, that's it. That's all. All you can see, as you can see, she was a workout. She is a more intermediate to experienced bag to construct. I think I learned a lot of things and I had a few struggles with it, but overcame them. It is so nice when you can learn something new. As a beginner, do not be scared of it. Just take it nice and slow. You can follow along with the tutorial and you can pause if you need to. This was also our Tuesday, August 2023 sew along class. So if you need a slowed down version of doing this in real time, you can definitely catch the replays on the membership side to see this. If you wanted to, that's completely up to you. Yeah, I just loved it. So if at any time you did like this tutorial, please do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you'd like to support my channel further, you can always buy me a coffee. That's linked down below in the description. And again, check out the membership site in case there's something there that really sparks your interest as well. Anyways, until the next one, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.